All right, so today we're going to be able to graph a line using the slope-intercept form, and we're also going to be able to get the equation or the rule from a graph. All right, so like we talked about yesterday and what we've been talking about, this slope-intercept form, big deal. You guys have to memorize this slope-intercept form. Make sure you have this formula down, right? Make sure that you know that your M here is your slope, and that your B here is your y-intercept. All right, remember your y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, and your slope is going to be rise over run. All right, slope, or M, is going to be your rise over run, or your y over x, or your up and down over your left and right, your vertical over horizontal. Right? All of these things mean the same thing. All three of these mean the same thing. It's just three different ways to say it. All right. So when we're talking about slope, remember what slope dude said. If you come to your line and you hit it and you're going up, it's positive. If you're going down, it's negative. If you're going left or right, it is 0. All right, so look at the following graph. What's the equation in slope-intercept form? So the questions you should be asking yourself are, what's my M and what's my B? And we have our formula, y equals mx plus b. So to get this answer, we can kind of write a little shell here and just write y equals, let's leave our space for M open, put an x, and leave our space for B open. All right, well, let's find our B first. I always feel like finding B is the easiest one, right? That's our y-intercept. So where does it cross our y-axis? Well, notice our y-axis is going to be this vertical line in the middle. And like I circled it already, we know that our B is going to be -2. Let's get rid of that line. We're good to go. Now we need to find our slope. And what I like to do for slope is I'm going to go ahead and start at my y-axis. I'm going to start. Let's see, maybe I should use a different color. Use green here. And I see that there's another point here. So let's do my rise first. Now I know when we're graphing points, we always like to do horizontal, right? But we want to do our rise over run, or our y over our x. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you wanted to do your x first, I'm fine with that. We can come over 1 because we want to get to that next point. So you know your x is going to be 1, and then we come up 1, 2, 2, and when you simplify this, it's just going to be 2. All right, so that would be your graph, your line equation, right? And in slope-intercept form, you have a rise, run, or a slope of 2, and your y-intercept is just going to be -2. All right, same thing. You ask yourself, what is M? What is B? And we're going to look at y equals mx plus b. So for our formula, we're going to just write y equals, leave a space, x, and a space. All right, let's do our b first, our y-intercept. Well, it crosses the y-axis at 3. So b is just a +3. So I'm just going to write a +3. Well, now I need to find a point. So I know that I'm starting here. I look on my line, I see a point here that works. And I like to do this left to right. Of course, you could do this right to left if you really wanted to. But we know that for M, we're going to have our y over x. And in this case, I'm actually going to do my y first, which would be 1, 2, 3 up. And then my x is just 1 and 2 over. So my M is 3/2. And that's it. That's your whole formula. All right. There's 2 steps. If you wanted to, you could actually test this. Let's see, I know that x is 0 here. So when I put in a 0 for x, when x equals 0, I should get y equals -2. So let's try it out. Oh, I'm sorry. Disregard that. When I put in a 0 for x, I should get y equals 3. see, is there a good point to test here? Yeah, when x equals -3, I should get y equals -3. When x equals -4, I should get. All right, so this can be very confusing. I feel like I'm not helping. All right, so I have 3/2, my x value plus 3. My x is -4. And when I go ahead and simplify this multiplication here, I would get -6 plus 3. And -6 plus 3 is just -3. So that does check out. That does check out. My equation is correct. All right. I think that these are pretty easy. Let's just assume that each of these is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? -1, -2, -3. All right, so I don't want to have to write all those because this graph will get really cluttered. And you guys might see graphs on the test where, you don't have any numbers on them, and you're going to have to be able to count, use again some of that critical thinking. So when I have y equals 1/2 x minus 3, I know this is my b, I know this is my m, so that's my slope, and this is my y-intercept. And let's just go ahead and start graphing. Well, my y-intercept is where my y crosses, or where my line crosses the y-axis. So I start at the origin, I come down 1, 2 to -3. So that's my y-intercept. When I look at my slope, remember, I'm gonna have 1/2 for my slope. M equals 1/2, and that's going to be my rise over my run. So my y over my x. So my y is going to be 1, my x is going to be 2. So y, I'm going to come up 1, x, I'm going to come over 2, y, I come up 1, x over 2. And I do encourage you guys to graph at least 2 points, and you'll see that I can draw a straight line through both of them. Same deal. I'm looking to graph this. Well, I know that my m is -3, and my b is going to be this +5. So I've got all the info I need to know. I know it's going to cross my y-axis. I start at 0. I'm going to come up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's my y-intercept. All right, let's talk about my slope here, because I know that it's rise over run, or y over x, but all I have is a -3. Well, we know that you can always divide any number by 1, and that's the division identity property. Right, so we know that our rise is going to be -1, 2, and 3. So we go down 3, x is over 1. Come down 3, x is over 1. And again, if you can draw a straight line through all 3 of your points, chances are you're right. All right, so multiple choice questions. All right, here's where we get our good test taking skills in. First, we're going to look at this, our +2. That's our b. Where does it cross our y-axis? So we're going to look at all of our answer choices, and we want to see if any of these graphs cross the y at +2. So I come down y. Does my graph cross at +2 right here? No, a's out. Come down my y-axis. Does it cross here at 2? Nope, c's out. Come down my y. Does it cross at 2? It does. B is still a contender. And I come down to D, does it cross at 2? It does. D is still a contender. All right, a lot of what we talked about yesterday. Let's look at our slope here. All right, slope is -2/3. Well, I don't want to have to count rise over run, right? That's such a pain. We sit there and like point at the screen and all that. So let's look at this piece of information. Our slope is negative. Well, if I am slope due and I'm coming left to right and I hit my slope this way, I'm going up, which makes it positive, which means B's out. But D here, when I hit my slope, I start going down. So it's negative, which is good, and D is our answer. So if you use some prior knowledge, some of these will be pretty quick. All right, like look, let's try it a different way. Let's look at our slope first, right? Let's look at our M first. It's negative. Well, if slope is negative, If slope is negative, then we know that it's going to be going down, right? So are we going down? Good. Are we going down? Good. Are we going down? Nope. And are we going, whoops. And are we going down? No. So B and D are out just by looking at the slope, right? Now we're left with two answer choices, and all we have to do is see which one of them has our y-intercept crossing at -4. Well, this is +4, so C's out. Therefore, A is our correct answer. And you really just had to know what your slope, what type of slope you had, and where your graph crosses the y-axis. If you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, have a great weekend. Don't forget we have a test next week. Oops.